we're joined now by Sam Dodson, the filmmaker and entrepreneur of OTN Productions, Obscured Truth Network. Sam, you are calling us, I believe, from the Cheshire County Department of Corrections in Westmoreland, New Hampshire. Am I right?
That's correct. Yeah, I was arrested 44 days ago in Keene, New Hampshire, in the district court lobby for filming on public property. And
what was it that you were filming, and what was the reason stated by the police who arrested you?
Well, the charges, I found out 2 weeks later, were disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, failure to be processed, and later they added a charge of theft because they couldn't find the serial number under the tripod plate on my camera. I think that was really kind of an attempt just to seize a $10,000 video camera.
All right, we have the audio version of your arrest, which we're going to play in just a moment.
Okay.
But I want you to set it up for us. What are we going to hear? Who was there? Where were you? And when did this happen?
Okay, this was on April 13th in the lobby of the Keene District Court. There was another activist, Dave Ridley, a videographer, who had been arrested for filming in the public lobby as well. So I went there to do a number of things. One, to get an official copy of the court order from the clerk, and also to film in the lobby and just break that law, essentially, because I didn't believe it to be constitutional, and I was exercising a right to freedom of the press. So we went up to the courtroom. There were about 10 activists or so. This is in the Free State, part of the Free State Project. A lot of activists have moved up there. And so he had several supporters that had shown up for his arraignment, and they were kind of standing behind me watching this, and one of them had a audio recorder, and I believe that's what you guys are about to play.
All right, so we're going to play this audio. We're going to play this sound in just a minute. As we do, I want to remind everyone that they can still tweet their questions and comments to Shelley Roche, who will be with us on screen via Skype in just a minute. Shelley will be putting some questions to Sam and to me. I also want to thank, even though he is your jailer, the sheriff was kind enough to let us conduct this interview, and I must tell you, you know I'm a former judge. I can tell you that interviews with people incarcerated, even those totally and absolutely innocent like you, are very rare in America today. I also want to say, so there's no bones about where I stand on this, to me, the camera is the new gun. It should be the weapon of choice in defense of any excessive behavior by the government, because the last thing the government wants is a video or audio of what you're now about to hear.
No cameras, no recording.
No audio recording.
I'm sorry. No audio recording, no camera, because it'll tell you right there.
What is that?
This is the orders. And we do have both.
Can I get this?
We'll make photocopies for them. We have before.
And what is your name again?
I'm Lance Walton.
Lance Walton. And are you a clerk here?
No, sir. I'm the court security officer.
Security officer. Okay. And this is what you're relying on to say that there is no filming in here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This is not an order, sir. This is not signed by anybody, and I've read this. No judge would sign
I'm not going to argue with you. You already know.
Okay, well,
keep it out of my face.
This is not an order.
That's
because
fine.
it's not signed by anybody. This is a sign of a right.
That's fine. I'm going to argue with it.
And it carries no force of law.
That's fine. You're not.
So we're free to film in here. Yes?
I asked you twice. No more. If I have to. I asked you to keep
on the wall.
it out of my
signed by any judge.
If you're going to, are you recording, sir?
I am recording.
Okay. Stop recording, please.
I'm sorry?
Oh, wow.
Come on, get up. Want to press it in?
I'm not sure what
I think he went limp. Well, Thug, sir. Who are you calling a thug? Well, anybody who's putting another man in chains or shackles. That's what I call a thug. What do you call a thug?
I'm looking at Ron.
Oh, really?
Ron.
Who am I hurting? Who are you hurting? Am I hurting anyone by standing here? Did I hurt your feelings maybe by saying the word thug?
What we're going to do is get the proceedings going. You ready for the arraignment? Of course. Let's get you in here. We'll get you screened in and we'll get you going.
You're filming somebody?
Hey, leave that guy alone!
What's going on?
Let me just open up the door. Just step back for a second.
Will you please make sure that he's safe in there?
Don't hurt him!
Will you please make sure you're not hurting him?
All right, Sam, before we go to the video, the snippets of this that we were able to capture, courtesy of you and the other defenders of freedom that were there, who was restraining whom and for what? What were they saying to you, and what were they doing to your equipment about halfway through this?
Well, so the court security officer had grabbed my left hand. He had motioned somebody to come over. They never identified themselves, as you heard. And one of them took my camera out of my right hand, and at that point, I just dropped to the floor. Now, I was wearing a really thick silver cuff bracelet that had 90-degree sharp edges on it. And when they put the handcuffs on, they didn't lock them down, number one, and they also got tangled in that bracelet. So as they start dragging me, the sharp edges of that bracelet start cutting into my wrist. It bruised the bone for a couple weeks. It created a couple puncture wounds, and that's why I was screaming. And now they knew that it was doing that the whole time as I'm being dragged and screaming. They're like, "Oh yeah, play it up for the crowd. You know, you're doing a good job," and mocking me and things like that. Later, they saw that the cuffs had tightened up even further. They loosened them and then took the time to lock them down after they had dragged me into that back room. And then, I had informed the Keene police officer who came to transport me to the police department that the court security officer was in violation of 18 U.S.C. 242, which is acting under the color of law in order to deny me my right to freedom of the press.
Correct. Hopefully that can be reviewed by a judge who will be faithful to his or her oath to uphold the Constitution.
It would be nice. He told me he didn't care,
to the
and
videotape,
he yanked me up so hard off the floor I bounced in his arms.
Oh, boy. We're going to go now to the videotape, Sam, of what happened with you in that courthouse, and as soon as the video's over, we'll come right back to you.
Okay.
What is this man being arrested for?
Lock the door.
Sam, what did they touch you?
What these people pay for them. Dragging me around by my wrist. In the car.
Why are you hurting that man?
Caused nerve damage. Let's swing around, son.
What is this man being arrested for, officer?
Go ahead.
How you doing? Just leave a 19, check your code.
Are you okay?
Get out the way. Get out the way.
Are you okay, Sam?
Get there, I will use two seats also. Got a couple on go.
Sam, are you okay? He doesn't look like he's awake.
You can't lay like that.
Oh. Call an ambulance for you, Sam.
Sam, do you have any numbness in your arms? That caused nerve damage with dragging you around with your arms back.
You gotta be a big.
Sam, what are they holding you for in jail now?
So we filed, they had those same 4 charges. We filed demurs against the 3 primary ones.
Right.
They immediately dropped to the disorderly conduct and the theft charge because the serial number was on the camera. What they are still asserting is that the resisting arrest charge, the judge ruled on it on its face, said the complaint was sufficient despite the 4 pages of case law, and they're actually trying to add another charge of common law criminal contempt, but I don't know how they're going to do that because I was never inside the courtroom under the judge's jurisdiction. And in New Hampshire, like most states, you have the right to be charged by statute, and criminal contempt is found nowhere in the statutes. It's made up by
Do they know who you are, Sam? Have you even told them your name?
I have not. They brought me over. There's a city ordinance that says that people arrested have to be fingerprinted and photographed. I did not refuse to do that, and the first time they offered it to me, I took them up on that, and they fingerprinted me and were able to tie my fingerprint back to a thumbprint from the Texas driver's license that I hold.
All right, Sam, I want you to stay with us because Shelley Roche who is a regular part of the show. There she is, and who joins us now on Skype, has been receiving the tweets throughout the show. Shelley, it's always a pleasure. Welcome back to Freedom Watch.
Thanks. Good to be here again.
Any tweets for Sam? This will be a first that freedom lovers around the world can tweet directly through you to Sam while he's incarcerated on a non-existent charge. Any questions for Sam?
Many questions for Sam. Here's the first one from Hunter Alex. What's the attitude of the jailers? Do they know what really happened, and are any of them sympathetic to your side of the story?
Okay, a lot of people are very sympathetic, from the jailers even to the prisoners. They've come around and started asking questions about, you know, what is this whole liberty movement, and what do you guys stand for? They seem to think we were either a cult or anti-government at first, and now some of them are starting to kind of understand the concepts and the reason that I'm in here voluntarily, because, you know, at any time I could just give my name, bow down to the government's demands, and they're telling me that they want to let me out of jail. They don't want to keep me here. But I know that if I do that, the writ of habeas corpus that's before the Supreme Court becomes moot at that point.
Shelley, any? That's a great question, by the way. I know you have so many. Give us another one for Sam. The technology is unbelievable that the tweets can get to you, to my producer George, to me, through Fox, to Sam in jail in New Hampshire.
Yeah. Well, now, are you able to talk about the strategy your lawyer is advising you to take, and, you know, kind of tell us how you're fighting this and what you're doing to get the word out about what's happened?
Sure. So I've been appearing on a number of local radio shows in Keene, also on a nationally syndicated Free Talk Live show, talking about the details of the case as it kind of unfolds. We've been filing demurrers. We've filed 9 writs of habeas corpus in the Superior Court as well as the Supreme Court.
Let me just interrupt you, Sam. Do you have a legal team that is representing you in the court system in New Hampshire?
Well, I don't want a lawyer because, again, the lawyers, I kind of have a problem with that, because they're going to go back the next week with different clients before that same judge, and if they do something that judge doesn't like, he's going to tank their cases and could literally end their career. So in New Hampshire, there's a law that says any citizen of good standing can represent somebody as their counsel, and so I have a counsel who can put the tough questions before the court, who's not afraid to challenge the judge and stand up to him and say, no, this isn't lawful or right.
Have you or those representing you commenced any actions in any other courts, like a federal court in New Hampshire, for an order by a federal judge to release you from unlawful confinement?
We have not yet. So far, everything's been limited to the District Superior and Supreme Court in New Hampshire. We talked about going federal. I kind of shied away from that. I believe a tort letter is in the process, or is in the works. My counsel also has a legal team backing her up that's kind of behind the scenes working on some of these motions and filings and so forth.
Sam Dodson, you are the incarnation of courage and patriotism and freedom. You're suffering so that a lot of good people might not have to suffer in the future. We wish you well. We want you to stay in touch with us. We'll follow the case, and we'll give it as much publicity as we can so that people can understand what has happened to you. Thanks for joining us, Sam. Good luck to you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Shelley, any questions for me?
Well, let's see. So basically what we were talking about earlier is due process and you know, kind of knowing your rights, and sometimes these rights aren't necessarily observed. Again, what advice do you have for people? You said earlier the camera is the new, you know, gun, kind of. Do you think that people should be going out and trying to capture more things on video and get the word out that way? And how can they do that safely and, you know, without getting entangled with the law?
Well, a camera is lawful even under the big government theories in any truly public place. In my opinion, even as an ex-judge, the camera is lawful in the public parts of the courthouse, like the courthouse corridor, which is where Sam was arrested. And it's certainly lawful outside the courthouse. But think of all the liberties that will be protected. Think of all the constitutional rights that will be preserved if the government knows that when it goes about its business, it's being watched by a camera. And then think of the opposite. You know, the government spies on us all the time. There are cameras in every street corner in Manhattan. There are cameras in places where we don't even know of the places. But they work for us. How can the employee spy on the employer? We should be watching the police whenever they make an arrest, whenever they use the authority that the government has given to them. We should watch prosecutors when they decide who to prosecute and who to let go. We should even watch judges as they rationalize away our liberties. That's why I say the camera is the new gun. Stay with us, Shelley. We'll get back to you. Shelley, any last thoughts before we sign off to Eric Bowling?
One last thing, Sam has been blogging about some of his experiences in jail over at freekeene.com, and I would encourage people to check that out because there's some really fascinating stuff that goes on behind the scenes that most of us don't know anything about. So,
Shelley Roche, always a pleasure. Until next Wednesday, from Judge Napolitano at the Fox News channel, at foxnews.com, at the Strategy Room, at your favorite show, Freedom Watch. Until next Wednesday at 2 o'clock Eastern. Stay free.
This program is brought to you by freekeene.com. Freekeene.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeene.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeene.com.